Welcome back. None of your tweets have come in just yet. But you can call in and ask questions. The number to call is 0808 054 2233. That's 0808 054 2233 for questions about typhoid fever. Okay, let's talk first about the flies. Flies don't seem, it doesn't seem as if we can get rid of them. Is there any way we can get rid of them first? Minimize their presence?
Absolutely, excuse me. Our general sanitation. So when we spoke about the personal hygiene, my washing hands and all of that, the general sanitation, do we keep the drainages around us clean? Do we cover the garbage we have, and all of that? Those are all things that will keep the flies away. Because the flies are basically looking to feed.
Okay.
So if we did the right thing, in terms of covering and ensuring that there is no dirt around us, we would absolutely reduce the flies. One of the reasons why you have fewer cases, very much fewer cases of typhoid fever in the developed countries than here, because they do have typhoid fever cases, is simply because of the sanitation level.
Okay, but you've been talking about washing hands.
Right.
If people were to wash hands after maybe visiting the bathroom, going to the toilet, and keep the area clean,
right,
then typhoid fever should not be spread, right?
It would reduce it, maximally. We've talked about, of course, the carriers. Those
okay.
are,
now, those carriers, I read that. I mean, this may not be obtainable here, but I read that advice that carriers of the typhoid bacterium should be excluded from handling food. Isn't that rather strict?
No, it's not strict if you consider the risk to everybody else. It's a job whereby you are going to be serving food to perhaps thousands of people a week, and you could infect so many of them, just by your wrong handling of food. So you could actually have the typhoid, salmonella, typhoid that you spoke about, infecting the food that you are preparing and serving to the people. And there have been instances where people, when you go to parties, for instance, and then somebody goes back home and says, oh, I had diarrhea all night.
And it could be as simple as somebody who is a carrier transferred it.
Yes,
people always think, oh, maybe the food was prepared in a dirty way. They used bad water.
That also could be a part of it.
Flies were settling on it. Nobody ever thinks it could be one single human being who maybe didn't wash his hands or her hands well.
Absolutely. That could be, it could be the source of it. And maybe just saving time. There have been instances where that had to be traced.
I understand we're getting a call from Valentine. Hello, Valentine. Hello, Valentine. It doesn't seem that Valentine can hear us, or maybe the call has cut. Yes.
Yes, I really want to know how malaria and typhoid really can affect the bone, affect the brain and all that.
I didn't quite get that. Did you get that?
I think they said he wanted.
To know how sometimes people have fever, malaria fever, and they begin to act like they have problems, also psychological problems.
Psychological problems?
Well, he's talking about how it could affect the brain.
Okay.
The idea is that without going into so much medicine or pathology, number one, you could have this sepsis that I spoke about, an overwhelming sepsis. What that means, or septicemia, what that means is that the organism has spread everywhere. It's just in the blood and it's overwhelming. It's much. In which case you will have it infect every organ possible. So you have people, the delirium, which means the guy feels like he's confused and all of that. The fever sometimes also affects people that way. So those are things that can happen.
Is this ever permanent damage?
Well, it depends on the treatment, consequently. How quickly this is caught, how effective treatment is. Unfortunately, we have too many variables, especially around here. The variables include the drugs we use, which sometimes you have the right drugs, but it's not the right drugs simply because it's fake drugs, So variables.
Yeah, there is that.
Yeah, there are too many variables. So sometimes you're treating somebody and you're really like, what's going on here? This is supposed to be potent and blah, blah,
And precious time is being lost.
Yes, it's being lost. So
thank you, Valentine. Let's go to another call that we are having. This is Osaze. Hello, Osaze.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon,
Good afternoon.
Osaze. Can we have your question?
Right, I can hear you. I didn't start the program with you, but I just want to find out, is it true that dirty water causes typhoid fever?
Okay. Thank you so much, Osaze. That's a good one.
Yes,
Dirty water.
absolutely so. Absolutely. It's contaminated water and food, like we said earlier. So the dirty water could actually also be contaminated with Salmonella typhi, which is the organism that causes typhoid.
So what happens is that the dirty water or food gets into a person.
Yes.
Then the person now begins to spread it to other people through contact, right?
He could first be sick himself.
Okay.
And then if he's sick, perhaps that's even the easier way. He's sick and he gets treated hopefully very well, and he gets well and all is well. But if he gets sick or he's not sick even, and then he carries the organism with him, and particularly also his own personal hygiene is not the best, and then he handles food. Maybe he actually sells food or something.
Oh dear.
And then he gets
whole
to, he can actually just spread the thing everywhere, and people really would be in trouble.
Why do we have carriers?
It's just that there are some people that, again, it's about individual differences. For most things that we hear about or read about or we take in terms of drugs, even, they are based on generalities, which is that we assume that most people would fall in this category. For most descriptions you would read and all of that. But then infections are dependent also on your own immunity, and your genetic makeup and all of that. So some of us are, in quotes, stronger than others, and the body could contain that organism to a degree. It's not going to wipe it out, but that organism is not going to bring that person down,
Okay.
to be sick. So the guy stays as a carrier.
But he wouldn't have been sick at first. Is that what you're saying?
He might have, maybe
Some
just
get
maybe
sick,
just a
some
mild,
don't.
maybe just a mild.
So
we
we cannot
and that's all.
say, okay, for example, that samples can be taken from a person who was sick before to find out whether he still has it in his body.
That's possible.
How about those who don't get sick at all?
That's the bigger problem.
That's the danger.
Yeah, that's the danger in the fact that there's no reason to suspect this person in that sense. And that's why when people now want to become food handlers, they are then screened and all of that.
Okay, we'll come to that. Hello. We have someone on the line. Hello. That's Alao.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Could we have your question? We can hear you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
The question is, we are living very close to Ogun State.
Okay.
Ogun State, Ogun River. And there are some times, using all those rivers to wash water can cause typhoid fever.
To wash, did you say?
To wash, yes.
Okay.
And at the same time, what of mosquitoes? Since these mosquitoes cause typhoid fever also.
That's a good one. Thank you. Thank you. We've got you. Mosquitoes?
No,
Can they?
no to mosquitoes, as far as we know. So mosquito is a no-no. It's basically food, water contaminated with the organism.
Yeah, you've already established that it
Yes,
can be caused
yes.
by water.
And
So,
the challenge with the rivers, like he speaks about, is that you down here do something with that river. Maybe you wash clothes, you have a bath in the river. Somebody else actually excretes in the river further up the road.
and then it just washes
It just
down
washes
to you.
down. So the problem with rivers is that you don't know who else is doing what is being done in the river, And of course, if you swim, for instance, if you have a bath, I'm sure we all know that sometimes these things get swallowed.
Yes.
So that's the risk with.
And then perhaps soccerways being badly situated
Yes.
in the neighborhood could
Yes,
also
if it's
cause
too close
that.
to your well, or too close to your well. If you make it too close, that could be a problem in itself. So these are all things. So even in terms of building the house, like you said, there are considerations.
Should we be concerned about floods then?
Absolutely. One of the things you will notice also is that when you have things like those disasters, what we call natural disasters, like floods, is that when we start immediately preparing for outbreaks of diseases like typhoid
Yes.
and cholera. Because once people start using dirty water, then there's a risk. So part of your emergency preparation will be to be ready to tackle these things. You have drugs stocked stock up, you have to ensure you start providing clean water as soon as possible. Otherwise, you'll start dealing with another problem.
Okay, let me finally ask you. I understand there's a vaccine.
Right.
Why don't people talk about a vaccine over here?
It's not as effective as you want it to be. That's probably why. And then, of course, you look at cost.
Cost. The almighty cost.
Right. Right.
But do you
Because
sometimes have cause, in Nigeria, to say, let this person take the vaccine injection? I understand their tablets too, capsules?
I think it's the kind of thing you should want to use in those kind of emergency situations. So
Okay.
you have displaced people all gathered together in a camp or
That's
whatever.
right. IDPs
Yes,
can be considered
you
for...
should give them all of these things. Because to prevent it is far cheaper than an outbreak. So...
Thank you so much for coming. That was so educative. It's always great to have you on the show.
It's a pleasure
Thank
to
you
be
very
here.
much. Thank you for letting us into your home to talk about these matters. Have a great day. I am Mary Alale Yusuf.